What if Tesla isn't really a car company anymore? But the numbers are starting to expose it, because on the surface, things look fine. Deliveries are still growing year over year. But then you look closer, and something feels off. Growth isn't hitting expectations. Inventory is quietly stacking up. And year-to-date performance? Down somewhere between 15 and 20%. That's not noise. That's pressure. But here's the strange part. The market doesn't seem to care. Investors aren't reacting to cars anymore. They're reacting to something else entirely. AI, autonomy, robotics. And the gap between those two stories, it's getting wider. The way I see it, this is no longer about selling vehicles. This is the market beginning to reprice Tesla as something completely different. So if it's not about cars anymore, what exactly is it about? This is where things shift. Because the valuation, it's being built on optionality. Not what exists today, but what could exist tomorrow. 3 big bets. First, robot access. No drivers, just fleets. Cars turning into revenue-generating machines. Second, humanoid robots. Optimus, built on the same AI backbone. Factories, homes, everywhere. And third, software. Recurring revenue. Updates. Features. Subscriptions. Not one-time sales anymore. Ongoing monetization. And here's the thing. If even one of these works at scale, it completely changes the business model. What stands out to me is this. This isn't an evolution. It's a full pivot into a platform company. But now you hit the tension. Because valuation doesn't come from dreams alone. It comes from a mix. What's proven and what's promised. Tesla has the past. EV dominance. Brand power. Execution history. That pot is real. But laid on top of that is speculation. Massive data advantage. Future autonomy. And, of course, Elon's long-term vision. And the market is blending these together into future earnings that don't exist yet. That's the bet. But here's the catch. This only works if execution actually delivers. If it doesn't, that premium collapses fast. From my point of view, investors aren't buying what Tesla is. They are buying what it might become. And that's where things get risky. Meanwhile, back in reality, the EV market isn't waiting. And cracks are starting to show. Yes, deliveries grew, but still missed expectations. Inventory? Higher than expected. Again, and there are two forces behind it. First, tax credits fading. Demand gets softer. Second, competition rising. Fast. China. Europe. New entrants everywhere. And suddenly, Tesla isn't alone anymore. But here's the disconnect. While the core business faces pressure, the stock is being driven by AI optimism. Two completely different narratives. The way I see it, you can't ignore the core engine while betting on the future. Because if the base weakens, the whole story becomes fragile. Now look at the actual numbers. First quarter, 2026. Expectation, 370,000 vehicles. Reality, 358,000. That gap might not sound huge, but it matters, because it leaves roughly 50,000 cars unsold, sitting, waiting. That's inventory pressure building in real time. And it doesn't stop there. Energy storage, another growth pillar, also came in weaker than expected. So now it's not just cars. It's diversification that's slowing too. This isn't a collapse. Not yet. But it's friction. And friction matters when expectations are sky high. From my perspective, this is where the narrative starts getting tested by reality. And this leads to something critical. The gap. At the top, you got valuation. Massive. Driven by future AI and robotics revenue. At the bottom, you've got actual performance. Margins under pressure. Missed expectations. Slower deployments. And in between, that space is the volatility gap, where expectations and reality collide. And every piece of news pushes the stock back and forth across that gap. That's why it swings so hard. Because it's not just reacting to results. It's reacting to belief. What stands out to me is this. This isn't a stable story. It's a tension zone. Now here's the real question. Can AI actually be monetized at scale? Because right now, it's still unproven. Investors want near-term returns. But autonomy and robotics? They're hard. Regulation. Safety. Real-world limitations. All of it slows things down. And yet, this is the turning point. Because if autonomy does break through, suddenly slower vehicle growth doesn't matter anymore. It becomes transitional, not structural. But that's a big if. From my point of view, this is the billion-dollar gamble. And everything depends on execution. Now let's flip it. Because the bull case? It's powerful. Start with demand. China is still showing resilience. That's a massive market holding up. Then institutional money, quietly increasing exposure. That's not retail hype. That's smart capital positioning. Then optimists, still early, but moving closer to something real. And finally, sentiment. Analysts staying bullish. Long-term narratives intact. Put it all together, and you start to see the picture. Even one of these working at scale changes everything. The way I see it, this is why the upside feels so big. Because it's not linear. It's exponential. But then the other side hits, and it's just as strong. Delivery, misses continue. Inventory keeps building. Energy storage, still under pressure. Competition, only getting stronger. And the biggest risk, future revenue depends heavily on things that don't exist at scale yet. Robotics, autonomy, and the stock, priced almost perfectly. No room for mistakes. That's the problem. Because delays or regulatory setbacks can hit valuation fast. I believe this is the key tension. Massive upside, but equally real downside. So now you've got two worlds. On one side, the core business, under pressure, slowing, facing real challenges. On the other, the future, autonomy, robotics, platform scale opportunity. And right in the middle is the crossroads, where both stories collide. This is where investors are forced to decide. Do you trust the present or bet on the future? Because you can't fully separate them anymore. From my perspective, this is what makes the stocks so complex. It's not one story. It's two fighting each other. And that's why traditional analysis starts to break. Because if you value it like a car company, it doesn't make sense. But if you value it like an AI platform, it starts to. That's the shift. But it comes with risk. Execution risk. Massive. Because building this future is not guaranteed. Still ignoring it? That can mean missing something huge. The way I see it, this isn't just a stock anymore. It's a window into where technology might go next. And navigating that requires a completely different mindset. So what actually matters now? What should you watch? There are 4 key switches. First, full self-driving approval in Europe. That changes everything. Second, cybercab deployment, real-world scaling. Third, software monetization, turning AI into actual revenue. And fourth, energy storage recovery. Quiet but important, because if even one of these flips, the narrative shifts fast. That's how the stock works. Not gradually, suddenly. From my point of view, this is the roadmap. Not hype, not promises, execution. Because in the end, that's the only thing that closes the gap.